Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Dikhiye Nashtapraye Shivabhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki. So continuing with the discussion on Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 11, Chapter 3, text number 46 onwards. So Rishi is speaking about Karma Yoga. Vedoktim eva kurvano nisango arvitam ishvare nash karmyam labate siddhim rochanartha phalashruti. By executing without attachment the regulative activities prescribed in the Vedas, offering the results of such work to the Supreme Lord, one attains the perfection of freedom from the bondage of material work. The material fruitive results offered in the revealed scriptures are not the actual goal of Vedic knowledge, but are meant for stimulating the interest of the performer. See, not everybody is going to be at the level of doing everything for the Lord, offering the results of everything for the Lord. So the scriptures take us gradually up. So they describe Karma Kanda. So slowly you understand. Karma Kanda means there is a higher authority, demigods, and we have to please them to get the results. Of course, ultimate Karma Kanda is because one has to understand every yajna is done to please the Supreme Lord. In every yajna, the Supreme Lord has to be present, otherwise the yajna is not complete. So then slowly, it can take many lifetimes. One can understand why I am stuck in doing this fruitive work. Working, getting some results, trying to enjoy, and again go through the cycle of birth, old age, disease, and death. Again working hard, again getting some results, again going through this cycle. And not just this cycle, there are Adidavik, Adibhautik, Adiatmik Klesha also. And so many problems. Then one comes to the real understanding. Why I'm stuck here? Why not get out of here? And getting out is also done by karma. Now karma depends. Who do we work for? And here it is said, by executing without attachment the regulative activities prescribed in the Vedas, offering the results of such work to the Supreme Lord, one attains the perfection of freedom from the bondage of material work. So this bondage is what we have to get out of. Human life is an opportunity offered by the laws of nature to the conditioned soul, so that he may understand his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Unfortunately, even in the human form of life, most living entities remain addicted to improving the standard of animal activities, namely eating, sleeping, defending, and mating. And if you look at our life, this is all we do. Everybody does. Try to improve our standard of eating, sleeping, mating, and defending. Almost no one is interested in the actual success of life, which is Krishna consciousness. But this is where the devotees or the preachers come in. They try to tell the common people without disturbing them. If it is a preacher like Srila Prabhupada, he can chastise, he can call them rascals and fools and this and that. He could get away with that. He's pure devotee and his way of saying is different. We cannot imitate him. So we have to take a very humble position when preaching. Although we know people are just wasting their life, completely wasting their time. But we got to take a very humble position in preaching. It is stated, Parama Karmanika Veda, Vedic knowledge is supremely merciful because it engages the animalistic human beings in a gradual process of purification that culminates in full consciousness of Lord Krishna, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. This is confirmed by the Lord himself in Bhagavad Gita. The majority of human beings are not able to suddenly give up material sense gratification, even though they understand from Vedic literature that such sense gratification causes a pernicious future effect, means it has a very dangerous or deadly future effect. But still, we cannot give it up. We have practical experience in the Western countries that when the government informed the citizens that smoking cigarettes causes lung cancer, most people were unable to give up their smoking habit. Therefore, the Vedic literature prescribes a gradual process of purification in which the conditioned soul learns to offer the results of his material activities to the Supreme Lord, thus spiritualizing those activities. So it's a gradual process. It's a very slow process. Material sense gratification is based on two organs, namely the tongue for tasting and genitals for sex life. By offering palatable food to the deity of Krishna and then enjoying the remnants as Krishna Prasadam, and by accepting the rules and regulations for Vedic householder life and begetting of Krishna conscious children, one can gradually bring the full range of material activities to the platform of pure devotional service. So that's why the rules and regulations come into picture. So rules and regulations are to prepare us for a higher or better or pure, superior life. That is true for every condition, even in the game, suppose cricket. There are rules and regulations we have to follow. Even the cricketers, when they go through tremendous amount of practice, so much of rules and regulations they have to follow to become a better cricketer. Without that, they cannot become a cricketer. So for something material, mundane like cricket, one has to follow so many rules, to speak of spiritual life. By offering the fruits of one's ordinary activities to the Supreme Lord, one gradually understands that the Lord himself and not material sense gratification is the actual goal of life. Lord Krishna warns in Bhagavad Gita that if people are prematurely encouraged to give up householder life or the sumptuous remnants of the Lord's prasadam, such artificial renunciation will have the opposite effect. So sumptuous remnants of Lord's prasadam. That's why in ISKCON we have feast practically, out of 365 days, we have 180 days of feast. It's not to make us fat. It is to get us attached to Krishna Prasadam. And slowly, one himself gives up. No, I don't want to eat the sumptuous prasadam, because as Rupa Goswami has explained in Nectar of Instruction, heavier food that we eat, because he says mouth, belly, and the genitals, they are in one line. So if we control the mouth about eating, then we control the belly, the urges of the belly, and then eventually we control the urges of the genitals also. It all starts with mouth. There is a class of duplicitous men who misunderstand the transcendental purpose of the Vedas and falsely claim that material fruitive results, such as promotion to heaven, which is offered in the Agnishtoma sacrifice, constitute the ultimate goal of the Vedas. Of course, there are people who will say this is ultimate, that is ultimate. According to them, yes, it could be. But that's not really the ultimate. Krishna himself says, by Vedas, I am to be known. Not that you try to go to heaven and then come down. And Krishna also says in Bhagavad Gita, men of small knowledge are very much attached to the flowery words of the Vedas, which recommend various fruitive activities for elevation to heavenly planets, result in good birth, power, and so forth. Being desirous of sense gratification and opulent life, they say that there is nothing more than this. So Krishna himself has refuted these injunctions. To refute such a foolish understanding of the Vedic purpose, this verse uses the word nisanga, which means without attachment to material results. The actual purpose of the Vedas is arpitam ishvare, to offer everything to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. The result is siddhim, or the perfection of life, Krishna consciousness. The words rochanartha phala, The word rochanartha phalashruti clearly indicate that the fruitive results promised in the Vedic literature are meant to stimulate a materialistic person to have faith in the Vedic injunctions. Example is that a child may be offered a candy-covered medicine. The child becomes enthusiastic to take the medicine because of the candy coating, whereas a mature person will be enthusiastic to take the medicine itself, knowing that such medicine is meant for his real self-interest. So child doesn't mean physically a small child. A child also means a person who has not grown up in a spiritual process. The mature platform of Vedic understanding is mentioned in the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad. By the teaching of the Vedas and by celibacy, penances, faith, and controlled eating, great Brahmins come to know the Supreme. The Supreme is Krishna, as stated in Bhagavad Gita. Although the prescribed rituals of the Vedas may sometimes resemble material fruitive work, the activity is spiritualized because the result is offered to the Supreme. Candy-covered medicine and ordinary candy may appear or taste the same, but the candy-covered medicine has a therapeutic effect not found in the ordinary candy. So ordinary candy is just working hard day and night. Candy-covered medicine is doing the Vedic rituals for one's own sake, getting the candy, but then there is a medicine in it, which is that there is somebody superior. The Vedas are superior to our understanding, and there are some superior entities who can give us a better life. Similarly, the words Naishkarmyam labhate siddhim in this verse indicate that a faithful follower of the Vedic injunctions will gradually be promoted to the highest perfection of life, pure love of Godhead, as stated by Shri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. The purpose is that, not dharma, artha, kama, and moksha. Prem, Krishna Prem, that is the real purpose. Ye ashu hriday granthim nirjihirshu paratmanah vidhinopachared devam tantroktena chakeshvam. One who desires to quickly cut the knot of false ego which binds a spirit soul should worship the Supreme Lord Keshav by the regulations found in the Vedic literature, such as the Tantras. So especially the Narad Bhakti Sutra or Bhakti Tantra. The Vedic literatures contain mysterious descriptions of the absolute truth that stimulate philosophical speculation. The Vedas also offer heavenly rewards for the performance of ritualistic ceremonies. But as stated in the verse 44 of this chapter, such a Gyan Kand and Karma Kand sections of the Vedas are Balana Manushasan. That is, because less intelligent or childish persons are addicted to mental speculation and fruitive activity. These sections of the Vedas are meant to attract such persons to take shelter of the Vedic injunctions for gradual promotion to the perfect stage of Krishna consciousness. So, yes, as different sections are there in the Vedas, but that is meant for different people, different level of people. And that is also the beauty of Vedic literature. It's not like one size fits all kind of philosophy. If you don't do this, then you'll go to hell eternally. You will live in hell. There's no such thing. Because Vedas or Vedvyasi, Krishna himself understands everybody on a different level of spiritual advancement. So according to their capacity, their understanding, if they follow these teachings, they can gradually make progress. Simple as that. So that is why in Sanatan Dharma, there is no such thing as forcibly making people do things if they don't want to. So the idea is to convince them by preaching. Now that the path for those who are materialistic has been described in several verses, this verse describes the process for those who are Vigya, or learned transcendentalists. Such learned transcendentalists are advised to follow the regulated worship described in such Vaishnava Tantras as Sri Narad Pancharatra for pleasing the Supreme Lord directly. The words Upachareda Devam, that one should indicate that one should directly worship Keshava, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who appears in many different incarnations to please his devotees. Srila Jayadev Goswami has described the pastimes of the Lord in his song, describing 10 prominent incarnations of the Personality of Godhead. Keshav, Personality of Godhead, Keshav. So these are the different incarnations of Keshav. Lord Fish, as always says, Keshav Dhrita, Meena Sharira, Keshav Dhrita, Kurma Sharira, Jai Jagdish Hare, Lord Fish, Lord Tortoise, Lord Boar, Lord Nrsimhadev, Lord Vaman, Lord Parshuram, Lord Ramchandra, Lord Balram, Lord Buddha, and Lord Kalki. The words Upchared Devam indicate devotional service to the personality of Godhead. And therefore the word Tantrokatena, or injunctions of the Tantras, should be understood to indicate Vaishnava Tantras as Sri Narad Pancharatra, which gives explicit and detailed instructions for worshipping Keshava. The Vedas are referred to by the term Nigam, and the elaborate explanation of these Nigams is called Agam or Tantra. When the transcendental living entity becomes perturbed by the obnoxious harassment of material bodily qualities, bodily dualities, he becomes eager to hear from the Vedas about his transcendental situation. The word Ashu in this verse indicates that those who are eager to put a quick end to material existence and situate themselves in the eternal blissful life of perfect knowledge should directly worship Lord Krishna by passing the preliminary Vedic rituals described in the previous verses. So those who are on the path of devotional service, they don't need to follow this Karmakanda. They can directly worship Krishna and try to please him. Labdhva anugraha acharya tena sandarshita dharma mahapurusham abhyarchena murtya abhimatyat namaha. Having obtained the mercy of his spiritual master, who reveals to the disciple the injunctions of Vedic scriptures, the devotee should worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead in the particular personal form of the Lord the devotee finds most attractive. So every devotee has a particular relationship with the Lord, and he finds some particular deity to be most attractive. So he can worship that. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the word Labdhva Anugriha indicates formal initiation by a bona fide spiritual master. It's stated in the Padma Puran, Shat Karma Nipino Vipro. A bona fide spiritual master must be a soul surrendered at the lotus feet of the Supreme. And further it is said, one pollutes his own intelligence and exhibits severe weakness of character when he rejects his own spiritual master. Indeed, such a person has already rejected the Supreme Lord Hari. A bona fide disciple should always remember that his entire understanding of the Vedic knowledge is coming through the mercy of his bona fide spiritual master. If one superficially or whimsically accepts and rejects a bona fide Vaishnava spiritual master, sometimes becoming attracted to another spiritual master, one commits a Vaishnava path, a great offense against the devotees of the Lord. Sometimes a foolish neophyte mistakenly thinks that the relationship with the spiritual master is meant for the sense gratification of the disciple, and therefore, in the name of spiritual aspirations, such a fool gives up a bona fide Vaishnava guru. One should understand oneself with the eternal servant of the guru. Srila Jiva Goswami has therefore quoted this verse from the Narad Pancharatra, Avaishnava upadishtena mantrena nirayam brajet punascha vidhina samyak grathed Vaishnava. One who is initiated into a mantra by a non-Vaishnava must go to hell. That's very severe. Mantrena nirayam brajet. Very severe injunction. Therefore, he should again be initiated properly, according to the prescribed method by a Vaishnava guru. It's a duty of the bona fide spiritual master to examine carefully the qualifications of the disciple. And the disciple should similarly approach a bona fide spiritual master. Otherwise, a foolish disciple and the indiscriminate guru may both be punished by the laws of nature. One should not artificially try to assimilate all the apparently conflicting branches of Vedic knowledge. So apparently conflicting, because if we don't understand the real or the hidden meaning behind the Vedic injunctions, we might make mistakes. Conditioned souls have various conflicting natures, which are engaged by apparently conflicting Vedic injunctions called pravritti and nivritti marg. But the easiest path is simply to learn the process of regularly worshipping Advaita, Lord Vishnu. All the demigods mentioned in the Vedas are paraphernalia for the service of the Supreme Lord, Vishnu. Whatever exists in the visible material world is also meant to be engaged in the Lord's service. Otherwise, it has no value. If one artificially renounces material things useful in the service of the Supreme Lord, he loses his spiritual qualification of seeing everything as meant for Krishna's pleasure and will be forced to think of material objects as meant for his own sense enjoyment. In other words, material things should be accepted or rejected according to the pleasure of the Supreme Lord. So that's why sometimes people say, oh, meat and liquor and tobacco, it's also created by the Lord. It should be used in the service of the Lord. Because they want to eat that or drink that. But at the same time, then we can say poison is also created by the Lord. Why don't you offer that to Krishna and take it? Then they will run away. So one has to know exactly what can be offered, what cannot be offered. Otherwise, one will fall down from the standard of pure devotion service. As stated in this verse, labdhva anugraha acharya. Such discrimination can be learned when one receives the mercy of a bona fide spiritual master, who reveals to the sincere disciple the practical application of Vedic knowledge. And that, thanks to Prabhupada, he has given us wonderful instructions. Basically, he has given us a whole process. If we follow it properly, we can make tremendous, so ultimate progress. Shuchi samukham asina prana samyam anadibhi pindam vishodhya sannyasa krita rakshor achayed dharim. After cleansing himself, purifying the body by pranayama, bhuta shuddhi and other processes, and marking the body with sacred tilak for protection, one should sit in the front of the deity and worship the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So this is how one should clean himself every morning and worship the Lord. Pranayama is the authorized Vedic process for controlling the air within the body. Similarly, Bhuta Shuddhi is a process of purifying the body. The word Shuchi means that one should be internally and externally clean. Shuchi means that one should perform activities only for the pleasure of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. If somehow or other one can remember the Supreme Lord constantly by chanting and hearing His holy name, one will come to the pure stage of life as described in this Vedic mantra. Om Pavitra Pavitrova. Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur has pointed out that although one may mark the body with sacred tilak, perform mudras and chant mantras, if one is thinking within his mind of material sense gratification, his worship of Sri Hari is bogus. Therefore, the word Shuchi here indicates that one should worship the Lord in a favorable frame of mind. Shuchi means internal cleansing also. Considering the Lord to be sacred and oneself to be an insignificant servant of the Lord. Those who are not favorably inclined towards the Supreme Personality of Godhead do not like to worship the deity in the temple. And they discourage people from going to the temple of the Lord by saying that since the Lord is omnipresent, there is no need to do so. Such envious persons prefer the gymnastic exercises of Hatha Yoga or the Raja Yoga system. But the statements by the Lord himself, such as Vasudevam Sarvamiti, indicate that in mature transcendental realization, one understands that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is the source of everything, and therefore the only worshipable object. Thus, the devotees who worship the deity of the Lord according to the Pancharatra system are not attracted by any yoga process except yoga. So this process, deity worship, and deity worship is not just a deity worship. Before that, after that, there's so much of perfection, purification has to be there. Because the Supreme Lord himself is standing right there. We are worshipping, we are serving him. The one cannot do anything except think of the Lord constantly. But Hatha Yoga, Raj Yoga people, they say, oh, just meditate on the light for half an hour and you're okay. You will attain the perfection. That cannot happen. So anyway, I'll stop here. See anybody has any questions or comments. Okay, you all have a safe and wonderful day. Hare Krishna. Jai Shri Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.